Well, today we're looking at a crisis moment in a broken family and their terrible misunderstanding of who the Lord is and how He works that led to deception, manipulation, pain, bitterness, alienation. The key word in the story today is bless. It's a Hebrew word, barak. And if we're going to appreciate the depth of the tragedy of this story, we need to understand the way these people thought about the importance of blessing. Michael Brown, in an article for the Dictionary of Old Testament Theology, says, "It must be stressed that nothing was more important than securing the blessing of God in one's life or nation. This blessing will help them to have children. It'll prosper them. It'll protect them. It'll deliver them. It'll heal them. It'll preserve them. It'll empower them, exalt them, favor them, or possibly bring about all of the above." Where there was a covenantal or a family blessing passed on through generations, there was nothing more urgent than being properly positioned so as to receive or inherit the blessing. G. Wenham, in the World Biblical Commentary, he says, where today we talk about success. You know, if you go to graduation speeches, they'll talk about success. What is success? How does one get success? You know, what you need to do to be successful. The Old Testament person, they talked about blessing. What is blessing? You know, how do you go after it? How do you get it? How do you give it? In our secular age, it would be tempting to believe that the problem with the family that we're going to look at was that they believed that words could convey spiritual power. It's like, well, yeah, that's the problem. But that's the one thing this family gets right. They understand blessing, that words can convey spiritual power. They just limit themselves in how these words work. So I'm going to read for you the whole story of this. And this is the episode of this battling for blessing in Isaac and Rebekah's family. And then we're going to talk about the brokenness evident in this battle for blessing. So if you have your Bibles, turn to Genesis chapter 27. Follow along with me. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called for Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." "Here I am," he answered. Isaac said, "I am now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your equipment, your quiver and bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." Now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the open country to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats so I can prepare some tasty food for your father just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat so that he may give you his blessing before he dies." Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "But my brother Esau is a hairy man while I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing." His mother said to him, "My son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Go and get them for me." So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and she prepared some tasty food, just the way his father liked it. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her older son, which she had in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goatskins. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. He went to his father and said, "My father." "Yes, my son," he answered. "Who is it?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing." Isaac asked his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" "The Lord, your God, gave me success," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not." Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he proceeded to bless him. "Are you really my son Esau?" he asked. "I am," he replied. Then he said, "My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate. And he brought some wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." So he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." After Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, "My father, please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing." His father Isaac asked him, "Who are you?" "I am your son," he answered, "your firstborn Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it, then, that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him. And indeed, he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me! Me too, my father!" But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright and now he's taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you, and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." The writer, again, that put this together is powerful, and I think he's not just foreshadowing like what has to be said for this story to be understood, but I think he's saying something more when he talks about Isaac's nearsightedness. I think he's saying, hey, Isaac's missing something. Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see. Isaac does not have a clear vision on God's abundant goodness. And so Isaac, waits till he's almost dead to pass on a blessing, and passes it on to only one son. Like, he doesn't even talk to the other son. He just brings in his favorite and offers him this blessing after he goes and does something for him. My brother-in-law Safi passed away, and they had the funeral yesterday. We got to watch it online, and it was it was powerful to hear of all the people that he touched in his life. But he wasn't very old. Like, he wasn't very many years beyond me. We don't know how many years we get. And you don't want to wait until you're near the grave, because you might not know when you're near the grave. Like, sunset's coming for all of us, and we don't know if it's a short day or a long one. And so Isaac would have been well served to bless sooner and bless more. But this is what he chose. And then Rebecca, just conniving person, really. Like, she's overhearing this conversation. She's listening in and then taking advantage of her husband. And she's making this, it says several times, I'm going to make it just the way you like it. You know, he's going to get it just the way he likes it. But the reason she's making this just the way he likes it is so she can rip his heart out. He's just shaken after she does this to him. And she's the leading character of this deception. She doesn't understand the way that blessing works, that the power of blessing, it's connected to behavior. Proverb 27 says, the righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. I didn't notice this even until just reading through it this time, but when she says, hey, let that curse fall on me, the result of her actions are that the son that she loves the most has to leave. And he's gone for a long time. We know it's at least 14 years, but it's probably longer than that. And you think about how much that would hurt her, somebody that she sees all the time, to never see him. And that's the consequence of behaving the way she's behaving. And why didn't she go in and talk to her husband, like, just directly, and say, hey, you need to bless Jacob too? Like, they could have had a conversation, but instead, no, there's just this deception. Why didn't she bless Jacob herself? Can a woman bless another? Well, certainly they can. In the book of Ruth, we have Naomi, who's a widow and very powerless in the society. No sons. All she's got is her daughter-in-law. But when her daughter-in-law comes in and was begging, basically, in this field and did really well, her response to her is like, bless the man in whose field you were gleaning. And then when she finds out who it is, it's Boaz, and she says, bless Boaz. And God certainly does bless Boaz. Elizabeth, in the story of Jesus being born, Elizabeth has Mary come to her, and the baby inside Elizabeth leaps in her womb when Mary comes in with Jesus present in her womb. And then Elizabeth's filled with the Holy Spirit, and she blesses Mary, and she blesses Jesus. She blesses the Lord Jesus Christ himself. So women certainly have the power to bless. And yet Rebecca missed that opportunity. And instead she is conniving. Jacob is a classic here. He understands exactly what his mother's trying to do, because he gets it, like, oh, we're not going in there to try to get my dad to bless Jacob over Esau. We're going in there to steal Esau's blessing. It's not like he's going to say, oh, that's so good, Jacob, and you can, you've got good food too. I'll bless you as well. No, it's like, hey, we're going to fake him out. We're going to get this blessing. He understands it, but he does have an issue with it. He says, I don't have the hair on my hands and my neck. If he touches me, it might appear like I'm trying to trick him. Well, it's like, yeah, it would appear like you're trying to trick him, Jacob, because you're trying to trick him. Like, that is what you're trying to do. And so, his concern is not with like what they're trying to do. His concern is how it's going to look if they're caught trying to do what they're trying to do. And Jacob has a lesson for us. Like the people, that go to church, or the people that, you behave a certain way, you're trying to look a certain way. You want to look like people who do what they're supposed to be doing, and sometimes the appearance is greater than the substance. And God is not blessed by that. And he doesn't bless that. Proverbs 8:32 says, "Now then, my children, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways." It does not say, "Blessed are those who give the appearance of keeping my ways." You didn't have the Ten Commandments in Genesis, but you get the sense that people understood these things in the culture, like it was wrong to deceive, it's wrong to murder. Like they understood this. Jacob, in just this one instance of going after this blessing, he breaks 5 of the 10 commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. His dad asks him, "Hey, how'd you get this so soon?" "Oh, the Lord, your God." Like he uses the holy name of the Lord. He blessed me, and I was able to do that. That clearly is a misuse of the Lord's name. And then you're to honor your father and mother. Well, he's honoring his mother, I guess, although it didn't really help her out too much, but he's completely dishonoring his father. You shall not steal, which is all about stealing. You shall not bear false witness. How many times it's like painful in the account, like how long this deception goes on. And it starts and ends with deception. Like the dad's just like, "I'm not sure. It seems like something's going down." You're like, no, Esau. Look like Esau, smell like Esau. And he just keeps going with it. And then you shall not covet. And it's just really easy to get caught up in that, hey, I want what somebody else has. I want their blessing. Esau, his response to finding out that this has happened, and the way it's gone down, is that he's going to murder Jacob. Well, before that, Esau has his clothes where his mom is cleaning them, taking care of them. He's an adult man, and his mom's doing his laundry. So that's something that guys, take care of your own laundry. But after that, he's going to murder his brother. There's this sense like if I can't get the blessing, nobody's going to have the blessing. But if you're after the blessing of God, like murdering your brother is not your best move. Like that's not the response that you should take. And so he clearly misunderstands the nature of God, and God is the true source of blessing. Like this blessing doesn't come from your dad. It comes from God. But what Esau does get, and he's the one that the narrator, the writer of the story, uses to highlight this so powerfully, is that the underlying problem for every person in this family that leads to this crisis and blessing is that scarcity mentality on God's blessing. He cries out, like, "Father, do you only have one blessing?" And that's what's driving all these machinations. That's why Isaac doesn't bring in both sons. Like, I just got one shot to give. I got one arrow to shoot, and this is it. That's why Rebekah is like, "Well, we're desperate. We got to get this. This is the one blessing that there is." And Jacob's willing to risk everything to get it. And Esau's like, "I may as well kill him now," because it's like there's only one blessing that God can give. And he's limited that way. And that is just not the nature. That's the nearsightedness. And we can slip into that if we're not careful. And Jesus lived a different way and called us to something different. In Luke chapter 6, verse 27, he says, "But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you." It's not exclusively those people that you should bless, but it's out to those people that you bless. It's like you're not restricted to one blessing. Like there's lots of opportunities to bless then, because there's lots of people that are going to cause you wrong in this life, and you can be blessing away. And why does Jesus talk like this? Because Jesus did not have a scarcity mentality, and he doesn't want us to have a scarcity mentality towards God. Luke chapter 6, verse 38, towards the end of this teaching, he says, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. A scarcity mentality says, if I give this to you, then you have it, and I don't. Like I gave it up, and now I'm without, and you have it. And that's good to be generous. It's good to think about others, but it hurts, right? Because it's like I'm giving this, and now I don't have anything. But Jesus says, no, it's not like that. You need to understand that you give this to somebody else, the Father's watching, and he says, hey, that's awesome. I'm giving it back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. This is not a get-rich scheme. This is not something that we should be using to try to take your money to the church. This is just about in our interactions with people. You give a blessing to somebody who doesn't deserve it. The Lord says, hey, I saw that, and I'm blessing you. I'm going to give you blessing back. And it takes real faith to believe that this is the way God is, but it's everything that the Scripture tells us. Like, this is His nature. And He wants to unleash His people in this world to be like a special operation force of blessing, because brokenness abounds all around. And there's a crisis of a lack of blessing. People are withholding the good that we could give to others. And we don't have to withhold it. It's not going to get us ahead. And so Jesus' followers, like, they grasped this and they taught the church, hey, this is what you need to do. Romans chapter 12, verse 14, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Romans 12:21, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Like, these two things go together. We are overcoming evil when we bless those who curse us. We're like superheroes, right? Spider-Man, he has got this spider sense from getting stung by this spider, right? But he's got these web throwers that they're not super, like they're just his web throwers. He designed them, and he's got like web cartridges in there to, release the stuff. And so he goes like this. Why that shape? Well, that's because you got to push the button on the web cartridge to release these things. And I don't know what the capacity is on these little web cartridges, but it just doesn't seem like he's worried about the capacity. There is some talk that there is a limited capacity, and there's like an LED that shows up when you're getting low on stuff. But he's just launching them left and right, doing good all over the time. And that should be us, like with blessing, like we're just blessing people, blessing brokenness everywhere we see it, and bringing about healing, bringing things together. Maybe some of you are like a different era. You're the red-green show people. Duct tape, duct tape fixes everything. We should be people that's like, we're just walking around with duct tape of blessing, like, oh, it's broken. Hey, put the duct tape on that. And sometimes the duct tape, like the first place it has goes whoop right here. Because Peter writes to the church, says, do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. And isn't that just our, like, bam, like that's what you want to do. Somebody gets you, like, yeah, back at you. And it's like, nope, don't do that. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing. It's not wrong that Jacob and Esau were desperate to live in the inheritance of God's blessing. What's wrong is the way they went about it. We should long for the inheritance of living in the blessing of God. And how do we go about it? Peter writes to the church, and he quotes from the Psalms, whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. They must seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and His ears are attentive to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. So that's no way to try to work our way into God's good graces. And the nature of God is such that even those who do evil, He blesses. Matthew 5:44 and 45 say, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Jesus is saying this, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes His sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. He just blessing. blessing. And Jesus models for us a life of blessing. Jesus didn't have any children of his own to bless. He didn't have any to choose, but there is this story in Mark 10 that we always repeat when we're doing a child dedication, but these people brought children to Jesus so that he could lay hands on them. And the disciples like, no, he's busy doing kingdom ministry here. And Jesus hears that they're keeping these kids from him, and he rebukes them. And says, do not keep these kids from me. And then he brings them in, and what does he do with these little ones? He places them in his hands on them, and takes them in his arms, and it says he blessed them. Jesus just is pouring out blessing on these kids. That's why I commend this church, for what you're doing on Wednesday nights. Those volunteers that are coming, it's not easy. I've volunteered the last 2 nights to help with Pam. I think I'm stuck. I think I'm going to be in for a good, because it's a lot. Even just to watch 5 of these kids is a lot. They've got brokenness that they're dealing with in this world, and it's tough for kids to face that. But to have people here that are just there for them, and to have people that are here that are there for the youth, that's awesome. And the blessing that you can put in their lives, it's really hard to know like what the impact will be generation after generation of that. So I know it can be wearying, but I just commend you, continue on with it. And Bryce was looking for youth mentors. I don't know if he got all the youth mentors he needs, but man, what a great way to bless into lives, just to take one youth and say, yeah, I'll walk alongside you. And you don't have to do it in the church, right? You don't have to wait till you die. Like parents, you can be blessing your kids. Husbands, you can be blessing your wives. Wives, you can be blessing your kids. You can be blessing your husbands. Grandparents, you can be pouring out blessing. One pastor that spoke, he was an author and writer, Richard Foster and Dallas Willard were both speaking. I can't remember which one. I think it was Richard Foster, but he said at his church, he would go in the nursery and he would just bless the nursery kids. Like he didn't change diapers. He didn't do anything. His job was just to come in and bless them. But you don't have to be an author to bless kids, right? You could be the one changing the diapers, and you can be blessing these kids. It is a blessing to get your diaper changed, I'm sure. But, you could be saying words over them, speaking life into them. I'm going to ask the worship team to come up. They're going to close this service with a blessing, but you're going to be saying the words of blessing to others. And so I'd invite you to stand, and I want to give you some words to say that you can bless people with. And these are the words from Numbers chapter 6, verse 24. So if you could stand where you are, I want to say these words over you. You might be like, well, I don't know, Pastor. Like, what do I do to bless somebody? What words did I say? Well, you could come up with all kinds of words. There's more words that'll be in this song. Just be creative, be imaginative. But if you just can't come up with anything, you, according to the Apostle Peter, you are a royal priesthood. And so this is the priestly blessing that you can give. So you can just give this. And I'm going to give it to you now, and I invite you to receive it. And then as you sing this, be thinking of the people in this room, the people in your family, the people who need this blessing, and just be sending it out through this song. Tell Aaron and his sons, this is how you are to bless the Israelites. Say to them, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.